Good evening. My name is Rich Rogan. I am in my 36th year with Honeywell International. All of my tenure being focused on the development, design, deployment, and commissioning of intelligent building systems. My current role is as a senior solutions architect for Honeywell Connected Buildings. Connected Buildings is a software startup within Honeywell, and I'm going to spend the next 28 minutes talking about a high-level overview and a demonstration of Honeywell Forge for Buildings, our enterprise performance management suite. Enterprise performance management is somewhat of a new concept. It requires a bit of definition. So what I'm going to do is share a very brief video prior to beginning my virtual tour of a high-tech office in which we've deployed Forge. I'm going to focus on the office today, but as you look around the cityscape that I'm sharing in my virtual tour, you may recognize that Honeywell Forge supports not just offices, but data centers, transportation and distribution, warehousing, retail locations, as well as pharmaceutical and medical facilities. So I'll start with this quick overview of a quick video and then follow up moving into the demonstration.
This is a company with 1,000 buildings. And this is Michael, head of real estate operations. His goal is to reduce spend, improve sustainability, and keep occupants healthy, comfortable, and productive around the globe. But because each building operates using different systems that don't connect, it's difficult to manage, track, and control on-site operations at the portfolio level. That means he needs a team at each location, increasing costs and hindering access to informed insights over performance and spend. To succeed, Michael needs an extensible operating model with remote visibility and control so he can supervise and improve operations at scale. The key is enterprise performance management with Honeywell Forge, a software-as-a-service approach to enterprise operations for the modern portfolio manager. Honeywell Forge unlocks the value in each building by connecting data from disparate systems and driving control from the cloud. So Michael can centralize operations, streamline decision-making, and optimize critical processes, all on an extensible platform, purpose-built for enterprise portfolios. With his fleet on Honeywell Forge, he can digitize manual maintenance processes, harness AI to optimize sustainability, and compare performance site to site to focus attention and investments where they're needed most. From improving occupant experience and productivity to strengthening his healthy building strategy, Michael can work from anywhere, on any device, on the go. And no matter what tomorrow brings, Honeywell Forge is flexible with the extensibility to scale new applications seamlessly across a portfolio. This is digital transformation at scale. It's time to elevate your operations and drive performance, sustainability, and safety from the boardroom to the boiler room. Contact a Honeywell advisor today.
Okay, now that that's complete, just in summary, enterprise performance management, in my definition, is a set of technologies, tools, and applications which enable an enterprise building owner, somebody that manages a fleet of buildings, to transform the way they manage those buildings and the way they operate and maintain their critical assets, engage their occupants so that every day is their best day of performance. And so now that we've seen the video, what I'm going to do is, Michael is the COO. I'm going to demonstrate some of Michael's experiences as he arrives at the corporate headquarters and what his day in the life looks like. Oh, didn't want to do that. Okay. On arriving in the elevator lobby, Michael is prompted by his workplace application as it notices his proximity and arrives in the elevator lobby and informs him of any daily check-in requirements, such as the need for PPE, or maybe confirming that he has not been in contact with anybody who's known to have COVID, etc. As he moves towards the turnstile, access control, well, first of all, He can verify either through his workplace application or through maybe a kiosk in the lobby, the practices that are currently underway to ensure that the building is maintained in a healthy environment and minimizes the risk of viral transmission. Secondly, frictionless access, excuse me, uses biometrics, facial recognition in order to identify Michael, and confirms that he's wearing the required PPE, the face masks, if this is being enforced by the organization, but also measures the body temperature, the core body temperature of Michael to ensure that he is not exhibiting a fever of any sort. Next, that allows the frictionless access control if you're supporting such camera systems. But if not, of course, the workplace application via a shake of his mobile phone allows him frictionless access into the corporate environment. As he moves his way through the cafeteria into the lobby and heads down the lobby, I will touch on something that I neglected to talk about last time around, is that in the background for the Forge applications, which is primarily a software application, and I'm going to talk about solutions and applications from the simplest to the most complex. But all of this is enabled via a single hardware device that is deployed within the environment. That device we call Honeywell Forge Connect. That is a gateway. It's a Dell Edge appliance, about 6 inches by 6 inches by about 2 inches high in profile. The new and interesting thing about Honeywell Forge Connect is that it is an agile development, and it is also a containerized solution. After we deploy the cybersecurity solutions into that gateway, the second containerized solution is the Tritium Niagara framework. So what we're doing here is leveraging Tritium Niagara and the hundreds of protocols that are available to Tritium for integration so that we can be sure to provide an agnostic solution to all of our customer sets. As Michael continues down the hallway, as he moves into the lobby atrium, he can take a look at a quick review of the building comfort and health conditions across the space. We monitor those in every room in the building. And this is very important to all the employees in the building to keep them comfortable as well as secure that their health is being maintained and that viral transmission is being reduced. As Michael moves into his COO office on the second floor, let's talk a little bit about the Chief Operating Officer and what his responsibilities are. Michael's responsibilities include improvements in operational efficiencies, reductions or management of labor costs, utility costs, as well as maintenance and repair. They involve improving public and investor perception of sustainability efforts, as well as driving innovations that help the company lead market disruption rather than being disrupted itself. So what does Michael use daily to ensure that he is managing across his thousands of buildings is Honeywell Forge for real estate operations. Sometimes I can zoom in on this and sometimes I can't. We're not going to zoom in today. So what he does is log into Honeywell Forge for real estate operations. This is a recently announced joint solution between SAP and Honeywell. It combines operational and IoT data from Honeywell Forge with real estate financial information from SAP in order to provide a rich set of tools for analyzing the impact of operational practices and occupancy or utilization and their impact on the overall financial performance of the facilities. Michael can drill down through the Smart Financial Building Score and to identify performance outliers. Once these outliers are identified, I can expect that my portfolio manager, or Michael can expect that his portfolio manager, will utilize Forge to identify and address the root cause of any of these performance shortfalls. So let's move over to the portfolio manager. Michael's portfolio manager is Lonnie, and I'll play the role of Lonnie today. So I can log into Forge from anywhere on a mobile device, but today I am in the office, so I'm going to start here. What I'll do is I'll bring up Forge and I'll log in from here. So my landing page as a portfolio manager is a portfolio roll-up view of key performance indicators, which are important to my role. I can quickly see how many sites are connected up top and some of the high-level information about some of my financial goals. Down below, I'm responsible for managing the maintenance of these critical assets that serve my facilities, which can directly impact the health and the comfort of my employees, my customers, or the occupants of the building, depending on the type of building. Also, those assets can impact, and the way they operate, that can impact the energy performance of the buildings themselves. And if my building is not kept healthy, my occupants kept comfortable, and my energy not managed, well, of course, in the long run, that's all going to be reflected in my financial performance. The first feature that I'll talk about with regards to Honeywell Forge is the simplest, and that is visibility. Each of these KPI widgets provides the ability to compare performance across facilities. This allows me to perform benchmarking comparisons in order to identify strong and weak performers, which in turn allows me to share best practices or to prioritize investments. I'll start by drilling in just a bit into the comfort performance, which is a metric that rolls up values at the site, zone, site, and regional level in this case. Okay, and what it's evaluating is, if available, the temperature, CO2, and humidity readings within those values, and determining how well we're maintaining those values within the desired ranges of the operations team. As I continue to drill in further, you can see that we have the ability at the zone level to evaluate the performance against comfort. In a similar way, when we come over to the healthy buildings display, we'll begin to see some additional functions beyond just the temperature, the humidity, and the CO2 values. You'll notice here very quickly, we have no outdoor air temperature, but you'll notice quickly that on the right here, we're going to see some service cases that arise. And I'll spend some time talking about the next solution, which is a little more complex. But what we're doing here is by providing visibility into the key performance indicators, it allows human analytics. It allows owners, managers to compare performance, as I said, and to identify opportunities to improve performance in these various areas. Moving beyond the human analytics, the second functionality that we're going to talk about is Honeywell Forge's predictive maintenance functionality. What I'll do is I'll drill down in here into the critical asset availability screens, and we'll go to a single location, our Madrid Capitol building here. After a moment, you see that service cases are identified. So service cases are essentially context sensitive as you move around through the Honeywell Forge environment. So what we're seeing right now, a summary on the left of the various assets in the Madrid facility, some meters, chilled water systems feeding 7 air handling units, as well as a number of VAV systems VAV boxes out there. But as I move around the system, you'll see that the service cases on the right that are generated through our predictive maintenance solutions are raised to the top. Now, when I talk about predictive maintenance, what's going on in the background is continually the operations of the components and the systems within the critical HVAC systems in the building are continually being evaluated to identify any anomalies in their operation. Those anomalies could potentially impact the comfort of the facility, the energy consumption of the facility, or potentially the life cycle of the equipment. And those cases are raised at a time that they're identified. And what this allows us to do is to move from human analytics, from preventive maintenance tasks, which are very labor intensive, where you're trying to identify faults, And what it does is it raises those faults as soon as they're identified so that the faults can be addressed, the service cases can be addressed at a time that's most cost effective, rather than waiting until there is a comfort call or a failure of some sort that potentially impacts operations of the facilities. Just taking a look here, service case we've seen here on the right, you'll see the lightning bolt indicates that it likely impacts energy. I'll drill down to see it. So a service case is not just the identification that there is a problem existing, but it goes beyond that, and it makes recommendations as to what an operator or an engineer or a technician can do to remediate that particular case. In this case, we see a chiller that looks to have improper lockout, is likely running when it's not supposed to be. And the recommendation down the bottom is to check to see whether somebody is manually overridden. Check to see at the chiller itself whether the chiller has been enabled, as well as to look for any faults on the relays, the sensors, and the wiring. So a little bit of direction beyond just identifying that there is a fault existing in the space. I see a question that has just arisen. Does the Niagara Platform reside on the gateway or cloud level for station connectivity? So the Niagara Platform, the Niagara framework resides in the gateway itself. And what that does is it allows us to communicate with the various building management systems, metering systems, lighting systems that exist in the facilities. So the intent is to take these dissimilar systems to normalize them so that we have a single normalized view across these tens, hundreds, or thousands of buildings. Then the gateway takes the information that's been normalized. It begins to build a model in the cloud, in the Forge platform itself, essentially a digital model of those HVAC assets. And it encrypts the data that is collected from the building, and it transports that data into the cloud. And once we're in the Honeywell Forge environment in the cloud, it is a Microsoft Azure hosted solution at this point. Once the data is in the cloud, we then are able to start to apply the machine learning technologies, the artificial intelligence solutions in order to drive some of the improvements in efficiencies, the improvements in operations that we're talking about. Having touched a little bit on the predictive maintenance capabilities, I'm going to go back up and talk about first of our machine learning solutions, which is energy optimization. So energy optimization is a closed loop machine learning solution, which essentially creates a model of the HVAC assets, the chillers and boilers, the air handling units they feed, as well as the air handling units and the zones or variable volume boxes that they may feed. And what it does is it calculates the optimum set points for some very specific control algorithms within the building. We're not controlling from Honeywell Forge. We're writing to set points that are existing in the controls within the building itself. Those set points include chilled water and hot water supply temperatures, differential pressure on the pumping systems, and if a variable volume air handling system, it would be the static pressure as well as the supply air temperature. The intent is to be between the extremes of building operations, the coldest day and the warmest day, when typically your systems are tuned to operate in satisfied conditions. There are many variations in the operations of the facility and the people within the facility, and that we can leverage this machine learning in order to minimize the cost of energy without ever sacrificing comfort. I see another question has just popped up. What are some of the factors you see that hold back clients from transitioning a simple building to a smart and healthy building? Economic impact, changing technology, etc. So what we're seeing mostly today, what's holding people back is, of course, the pandemic. There's a lot of visionaries that recognize the value of transforming. The digital transformation, we've seen it across many businesses, and they see the value, and it's a matter of becoming comfortable with the fact that the economies are going to return and that it's going to stay. We won't have any type of resurgence of virus. Um, Beyond that, it does require change management. This is not a solution where you can install the gateway and configure Honeywell Forge and then continue to defer maintenance and expect to see a change in performance. It does require transformation. And so that I talked about predictive maintenance. If service cases are being raised and you're choosing to defer the maintenance, then you're not going to see the benefit. Uh, the simpler technologies are very quickly deployed, and I talked about them early on. As far as the key performance indicators and predictive maintenance, very cost effective to deploy and doesn't require significant change of or significant investment in hardware or software, but it does require that transformation that I talked about. When you move beyond that to some of the healthy technologies that I talked about, the first being the dashboard, is just an investment in sensorization. Okay, we can provide a high level healthy building score based on sensors that measure temperature, humidity, carbon dioxide, as well as particulate matter and volatile organic compounds. And then we can compare to ASHRAE recommendations as to where to maintain those to see how you're performing against those. A very simple investment there. When you move to more healthy building technologies that I can drill into here in a bit, it does start to require some technologies that are not widely deployed today and could require an investment. The ability to understand how many occupants are in a building or a space, which requires either a digital ceiling where you have occupancy sensors across every light fixture and can with a high deal of accuracy, you can estimate how many people are in a space and compare to how many are maximum occupancy. Other technologies that would be required, I referred to earlier, the camera-based systems, which can do both occupancy counting. It can do the body thermal scanning as well as mass detection. That does require, a digital video system of some sort, as well as analytics that help identify those incidents that I talked about. So there is an investment there. Newer buildings, of course, have already likely deployed those technologies, and so it can be leveraged quite quickly. As you go back into older building stock, you're going to find that it's an investment to get to there. I hope that addressed the question. If not, enter something into the chat. So with regards to energy optimization, I can't show you it working because, as I said, it's writing set points down to those set points I described within the building control system. But what I can do is show how we measure performance and present the performance. Here we're looking at the Atlanta campus. We've drilled down, and here is a specific building. So I see on top here that we don't have any outdoor air temperatures available via the building management system in this case, but that's not a problem because we can enrich the weather data via a Honeywell Forge and a weather service. Okay, and that information is very important to the models and the energy optimization solution. Keeping an eye on time there. So what do we see here? I'll move quickly. The cyan line at the top is a record of comfort performance during the period we're evaluating. The gray line at the top of the graph below is baseline energy consumption. The black section down the bottom is the actual energy consumption that we're actually reading meters in order to understand how well the energy optimization is performing and using that information to calculate the savings. So the light blue section in between the two ends up being the savings. In this case, we're demonstrating about 17% reduction in baseline energy costs for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems. That's not building-wide energy savings. And how do we calculate that? How do we know what the baseline is? If you look here, there are two locations where there's a white dot. That white dot is a period of time during which energy optimization is turned off for a 24-hour period. And what we do then is we compare what the meter consumes during that 24-hour period to a period with similar conditions. And we use that in order to quantify the energy savings. So that is energy optimization. I am showing 5 minutes. If there are questions to be input through the chat, please go ahead. Otherwise, I could drill down a little bit more on the healthy building solution set to talk about some of beyond just the healthy building score. If I go into healthy buildings, what we'll see is that healthy building score that I talked about here at this building of a 68% average. It is actually a roll up of multiple pillars. Okay, we call them pillars below it, and that is the indoor climate index, the pollutant index, safe space utilization, occupant contact safety, and safety compliance. Okay, again, this is showing us roll-ups in this case in Europe and the Middle East, and the Americas, as well as the APAC region. But we can drill in here. With regards to indoor climate index, this is a comparison of how we're performing in this particular facility, or in this roll-up in this case, against ASHRAE recommendations for maintaining humidity levels, carbon dioxide, temperature, and air changes within the facility. When we move over to the pollutants, we're considering more. We're evaluating particulate matter as well as volatile organic compounds within the space. And then we move into the final three pillars. This is where it does become more complex and requires some integration to get occupancy information. That begins to consider the occupancy level of the space as compared to its recommended maximum occupancy. On occupant comfort, we're looking at crowd incidents. So camera systems can detect lack of social distancing, or also be used to count the number of occupancy within a space. And as we move into safety compliance, that's where we talked a little bit earlier about mask compliance and elevated body temperature. I see another question has popped up in the screen here. Can Forge push data to third-party connector for the energy data sets? So Forge is from top to bottom designed to be extensible. Okay, so depending on where you're looking, we typically take the data from the Forge Connect box into the cloud first, and then we have a series of APIs which can be used to move data to third-party clouds, or to pull data from third-party clouds as well. The intent is that although Honeywell has rich domain experience in buildings, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, controls, video, security systems, but that customers will be looking for more than that. They're going to be looking to provide analytics against their magnetic resonance imagery machines, their MRIs, or potentially perform analytics against their lifts and elevators. And so the intent is similar to Tritium and the Niagara Platform, that the solution set is extensible across the board, and that third-party solutions, applications, and integrations can be developed through a series of system integrators. With that being said, I'm showing 2 minutes on the clock. And if there are no other questions, then I would take this time to say thanks for everybody's attendance. We hope you have found this to be interesting and enlightening, and a vision as to where building technologies are moving in the future.